Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So I want to come tonight and give the third installment of the education series. And tonight I wanted to talk about teacher pay and kind of discuss, what do teachers really make? So just know that whenever I'm talking about this, I'm talking about from my experience and from any research that I've seen in regard to teacher pay. So there is this statement or this belief out in society that teachers don't make a lot of money. And I think that that can be true, and that can also be very untrue. So teacher pay is based on a few different things. The first thing I would say, teacher pay is based on your education. The next thing teacher pay is based on is your years of service. And then the last thing I would say that kind of affects teachers' pay is where you live. And so we'll first talk about education. So I'll talk about my state in particular. And when I'm talking about teacher pay, I'm moving my hand. That's the shadow you guys see. When I'm talking about teacher pay, I'm speaking of public schools. I'm not talking about charter schools. I'm not talking about private schools or higher education. This is public school teachers. So education first. Most teachers have to have a 4-year degree. Now they do have things like community experts and things like that. I'm speaking of a licensed teacher. You have to have a 4-year degree to be a licensed teacher. You could be working on like a provisional license, but most teachers who are on a provisional license already have a 4-year degree in some other field, and then they're working towards their teacher license. So typically you have a 4-year degree. For example, my district or many districts around my state, they have a pay scale. And so the 4-year degree is like the minimum. Then you have 4 years, and it could be 4 years plus so many credits. So it'll be like 4 years plus maybe 10, 4 years plus 15, 4 years plus 20, then master's degree. Master's plus 10, master's plus 20, master's plus 30, then PhD. And PhD is usually the max. So how the pay scale normally works is you go in on, I think it's called a lane. So you go in on a lane, and say you have a bachelor's, you're in the lowest lane. You don't have any experience. And then as your education goes up, so you're going like horizontally across the pay scale. As your education increases, the more money you make. Then you can go vertical on the pay scale. So it kind of goes across and it goes down. As you go down or up, basically, on the pay scale, your pay goes up. Those are years of service. So the more education you get and the more years of service you have, the more pay you make. Okay. The next thing I talked about is experience. That's kind of what I was talking about, the vertical. And so if you're a new teacher, you sometimes, like if you maybe worked at a daycare or something, you can maybe negotiate that. Sometimes if you've been a para, you can negotiate that. And that's one thing I regret when I first started my job. I wish I had negotiated my years as a paraprofessional. I didn't. I was just so happy to get the job, but it's neither here nor there now. The next thing is where you live. I live in Minnesota, and what I have found in just my research, because I've looked at a few places I want to move, is there certain states pay more, I would say, generously. I don't mean generous like that you get paid a lot. What I've noticed that in certain states, remember how I just said the pay scale moves, you can go across it based on years of service, and you can go down based on experience. In other states, like in Minnesota and other states like DC and places like certain areas of California, that pay scale, like for every like 10 credits you get more money. In other states, you either get money for a bachelor's or a master's. That's it. And then your years of service. And so it really depends on where you live that will determine how much money you make. And what I found is many places that are in the north or in the west, in the northeast, pay more. And then places that are more in the southern part of the United States pay less. That's just been my experience and what I've seen. And so when people say teachers don't get paid a lot, people are typically talking about for the level of education that a teacher has. For example, I have a master's degree. Almost everybody I work with has a master's degree. When you look at that in comparison to other professional degrees, we don't make as much in compared to other people with professional degrees. I'll take a math teacher, for example. A math teacher or a science teacher could probably go and be an engineer or do something else, but they chose to teach. They have the ability to be those things, but they chose to teach, but they don't get paid nearly as much, but they probably have a similar level of education. Just like a teacher may have similar level of education as someone who has gotten, in comparison, like a law degree. I'm not saying we know the same as them, but we may have the same level of education or an MBA or whatnot. The pay is certainly not on par with our level of education. So I just wanted to put that out there. What do teachers make? How is the pay made up? And teacher pay scales are public knowledge. So if you're ever wondering like what a teacher makes in a certain district, just go to that district, look it up. The information's out there. You won't know specifically what a specific teacher makes, but you will know the range of what teachers can make. So yeah, I just wanted to share that with you guys. If you have any questions, leave them in the comment, and don't forget to subscribe. Have a good night, guys.